Discover the incredible journey, how a hidden love transformed a billionaire heiress and changed everything. Ivy Sanders stood in front of the mirror, the dazzling chandelier casting glints off her emerald gown. She was the picture of poise, a multi-million-dollar smile plastered on her face. But inside, she felt like a ghost, adrift in a sea of perfectly manicured glamour. Another gala, another round of strained conversations about her family's wealth. Every compliment felt like a whisper of the same hollow narrative: Ivy Sanders, the heiress, the trophy. No one saw her, really saw her. As the music swelled and the society elite mingled, she could feel the weight of her existence pressing down. "You're so lucky, Ivy," they'd say, "the world at your feet." They didn't know the pearls and diamonds didn't protect her from the chilling loneliness that clawed at her heart. That night, she excused herself, escaping the clamor of laughter and forced smiles, her chest tight as she dashed into the cool Chicago night. The air was crisp, a delicious break from the stuffy warmth of the ballroom. She wandered the streets, her heels clicking on the pavement, searching for a sliver of solace. That's when she saw it, a small auto shop, lights flickering like a beacon amidst the darkness. Feeling impulsive, Ivy stepped inside. The scent of oil and metal hit her senses, oddly comforting. A man, ruggedly handsome with grease-stained hands, looked up from a car he was working on. "Can I help you?" he asked, genuine curiosity in his voice. I just needed a moment," Ivy admitted, her throat tightening. "Sure thing," he replied, wiping his hands on a rag. "I'm Jake." Their conversation flowed like a gentle stream. There was no pretense, simply two souls exchanging fragments of their lives. Ivy felt lighter, unburdened. Jake's laughter bubbled like refreshing rainwater, quenching her thirst for authenticity. He was real. In the weeks that followed, Ivy found herself repeatedly drawn back to the shop. They explored the city's hidden nooks, their chemistry blooming in the shadows of the skyscrapers. Together, they shared stories of hardship, life lessons that had shaped their worlds. Jake had lost his parents in a tragic accident but had carved a life based on hard work. Every moment with him filled her with hope, a stark contrast to the hollow existence dictated by her family. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Their relationship brewed like a well-crafted cocktail, sweet and intoxicating yet laced with bitter undertones. Ivy knew her family would never accept Jake. The whispers of societal judgment echoed louder with each stolen moment. Then the storm hit, devastating, swift. Jake's neighborhood suffered immense damage. When Ivy rushed to help, she saw firsthand the resilience of a community. They worked side by side, her hands dirty, heart racing. It pushed Ivy to confront the disparities that kept them apart. But just then, tragedy struck, a loved one injured, loss looming on the horizon. Ivy stood before her family, a chasm between them growing wider. The winds of change howled outside, mirroring the tempest in her heart. Would she break free from the expectations that caged her, or would she choose a life that felt empty? As the heat of the moment pressed on her, Ivy's gaze met Jake's, his strength grounding her amid chaos. Would she dare choose love, or would she resign to the stifling weight of privilege? The storm had only just begun, and so had her journey to reclaiming her voice. Ivy stood at the edge of the world she had known, her family's mansion looming in the distance, a fortress of expectations. The warm glow of the lights inside felt inviting yet suffocating, each flickering bulb a reminder of the path her parents had paved for her, a path she was beginning to question. With Jake by her side, she had glimpsed a new world filled with possibility. The storm had racked his neighborhood, but it had also exposed something deeper within her. She realized that wealth was not just about money, it was about relationships, loyalty, and community. Yet, the weight of her family's expectations still clung to her like a shadow. After a long night at Jake's the previous week, Ivy had come face to face with one of the most difficult realizations of her life. She loved him. Not because of his charm, or his muscled arms that made her feel safe, but because he saw her. The real her. The girl who didn't want pearls and diamonds, she craved authenticity. Now, however, that love felt threatened. The very thought of her parents discovering Jake sent a shiver down her spine. What would they say? What would they do? Ivy had witnessed her mother's scorn for those deemed unworthy. Each comparison, each snide remark, echoed in her mind as vividly as the congratulations she received from society's elite. With a deep breath, she decided to face her fears. Taking Jake's hand, she led him to her family's garden, a beautiful sanctuary filled with blooming roses. She loved it here, but tonight it felt different, weighed down with the truth she had been holding back. "Ivy," Jake said softly, brushing a tendril of hair behind her ear. His eyes sparkled with a mix of hope and concern. "You all right?" She nodded, or at least tried to, but her throat felt tight. "I need to talk to you about something. About us." Ivy could feel her heart pounding in her chest, each thought accentuating the uncertainty hanging between them. "Okay," Jake replied, his brow furrowing slightly. "What's on your mind?" "I am scared." The confession slipped out like a whisper. "Scared of what happens if we go forward. My family, they're not going to accept this. They'll never accept you. It's not just about us anymore." His grip tightened around her hand, grounding her. "Ivy. I love you. Nothing matters more to me than that." Tears stung her eyes. She wanted to embrace his words, to chase away the fears pulsing in her heart. But could love conquer the fortress her family built? She caught a glimpse of her father's disapproving look, the judgment those swirling doubts told her it might not be enough. As the wind rustled the leaves around them, Ivy glanced toward the mansion, its golden windows now a taunting reflection of everything she felt trapped by. She turned back to Jake. "I can't lose you, you won't lose me," he reassured her, but she wasn't convinced. Her world felt divided. Just as she was about to speak again, a loud crash echoed from the mansion. The lights flickered and then went out completely, plunging the garden into darkness. Ivy's heart raced anew, the shadows now amplifying every doubt she had. "Let's check it out," Jake suggested, his voice steady. Ivy hesitated. Would facing her family now lead to liberation or retribution? As she took a breath, she prepared for whatever awaited them inside. Would this be the moment everything changed forever? Her heart thudded as they moved toward chaos, courage battling fear. "What if they try to tear us apart?" she asked, half expecting an answer, half dreading it. "Then we fight," Jake said, his voice unwavering. But as Ivy stepped fully into the unknown, she couldn't shake the feeling, could love be enough to tear down the walls standing between them? With every step, the tension built. They were on the brink, ready to face a decision that could change everything. What awaited them inside? Ivy took a deep breath and tightened her grip on Jake's hand. The dark path toward the mansion felt daunting. Every shadow seemed to whisper her fears, tossing doubts like leaves in the wind. Would her family's anger be too much to bear? She had always been the perfect daughter, molded to meet every expectation, but tonight felt different. She had something to protect, something beautiful, real. As they approached the back entrance, the echo of muffled voices reached their ears. Ivy's pulse quickened. She recognized her mother's sharp tone cutting through the darkness. "What do you mean we have to leave?" The panic in her voice was palpable, drawing Ivy closer to the door against her instincts. "It was just a power outage," someone else replied, but Ivy couldn't place the voice. "You need to stay calm, Eleanor." "Stay calm?" Eleanor's voice wavered. "This could ruin us. You have no idea what the press is like." The door creaked open slightly, and Ivy peered inside. She saw her mother in the middle of a somber gathering, her father pacing like a lion in a cage. Her heart sank. It was chaos, hidden behind the glossy surface of their lives. "Jake, maybe we shouldn't," Ivy whispered, wanting to retreat. No. Jake whispered back, his voice firm yet gentle. We need to see what is going on. For you. Stealing her nerves, Ivy pulled the door open a bit wider, allowing them to slip silently inside. The room was dim, with only a few candles illuminating their worried faces. As Ivy and Jake crept further in, she could catch bits of hurried conversation. I've worked too hard to let this blow everything apart, her father said, voice low but intense. They'll destroy us, go after everything we built. The charity events, the reputation let them, a voice replied sharply. Ivy recognized her uncle, a man she had always found strange. Let them see who you really are. Tell them the truth, and maybe they'll leave us alone. You don't know what you're asking. Her mother gasped. This is about more than us, it's about the entire family legacy. Jake squeezed Ivy's hand. His presence was a solid anchor amidst her rising turmoil. For a moment, she could feel the weight of those expectations pressing down on her, pulling her back. The past whispered in her ear, enticing her to retreat into the comfort of conformity. Yet, in that chaos, she glimpsed a truth that shimmered within her like a beacon. Her heart was screaming for something more than safety. I can't keep living like this, Ivy breathed, more to herself than to Jake. If I don't speak up, I'll never know who I really am. Ivy. Jake turned her to face him. You are not alone in this. Let us turn this into our moment. Own it. Heart pounding, Ivy stepped forward into the flickering light. Mom, Dad, her voice trembled a little, but the resolve solidified within her. Their attention snapped to her, stunned silence falling as if she had pulled the rug from beneath them. What are you doing here? Her father demanded, brow furrowed with a mix of confusion and anger. I'm here to tell you that I'm done hiding. I want to be a part of this life if it means losing myself. Or she glanced at Jake, feeling a surge of courage, losing him. The air turned electric, charged with the weight of her words. Ivy braced herself for the tempest of reactions, feeling the fragile sense of hope spark within her. Suddenly, the silence shattered, and she could see their faces change from shock to anger. You are making a mistake. Her mother shouted, her voice cracking. This boy, I love him, Ivy declared, her voice clear and unwavering. And that's not a mistake. At that moment, she knew there was no turning back. The path ahead would be filled with challenges, but the possibility of freedom glimmered on the horizon. What awaited in the aftermath of her declaration hung heavy in the air, and Ivy wondered if she could forge a new path. Would her love be enough to weather the storm brewing before them? As her parents' expressions shifted, Ivy felt the first tremors of a life redefined, unsure of the outcome but resolutely facing her future. What would happen next? Ivy's heart raced as she stood before her parents, their expressions darkening like a storm cloud ready to burst. The tension in the room weighed heavily on her, curling around her like thunder. Every heartbeat felt louder than the last, echoing her defiance. She could feel Jake's steady presence beside her, a lifeline in the turbulent sea of emotions. Her mother, Eleanor, narrowed her eyes, the flickering candlelight casting shadows on her face. You love him? You don't know what love is, Ivy. It's a luxury you can't afford. Mom, stop, Ivy pleaded, her tone unexpectedly calm despite the whirlwind of feelings inside her. You're treating me like it's a child's whim. This isn't just some crush. Jake, he sees me for who I really am. Who you are. Her father's voice boomed, disbelief woven into his words. We've given you everything. A future, Ivy. You can't throw it all away for this boy who has nothing. Every word felt like a dagger, but Ivy stood resolute, anchored by the certainty growing within her. You don't understand. This future you speak of is a prison. I want to be free to choose my own life. There was a beat of silence, a moment when time seemed to stretch and twist. Her uncle's voice cut in, softer now. Maybe it's time to listen to her, Eleanor. Perhaps this is what the family really needs, a break from the facade. Don't you dare side with her, her mother snapped, eyes blazing. Ivy felt the heat of those words, but she also sensed a crack in the steely resolve of her parents. Their world was falling apart, and that fracture offered her a glimmer of hope. Jake squeezed Ivy's hand, a silent reassurance that bolstered her courage. "This isn't about us versus you," he spoke up, gaining in confidence. "It's about Ivy finding her truth. You can either support her or watch her walk away." Ivy's breath caught in her throat as she realized the weight of that statement. It hung in the air, a shared challenge that her parents had to confront. For the first time, the fight in her heart felt like a force that could shift mountains. Eleanor's facade shattered for a moment, her eyes glistened with unshed tears. "You'd really leave us? Leave this life?" "I don't want to leave you, but if you can't accept me, if you can't accept Jake, then yes, I will," Ivy said, letting her vulnerability show. "I want to be proud of who I am, not ashamed." Her father stepped back, his pacing halted by her words. The chaotic energy in the room shifted, morphing into something more tenable. Ivy could see the struggle in their faces. They were wrestling with the truth she had just laid bare. Then, a soft whisper came from the corner of the room. "You may lose more than you realize, Ivy," her uncle said, his tone somber. "A family can't just be redefined without consequences." Ivy met his gaze and nodded slowly. "Maybe. But isn't it worth the risk?" As her parents looked at each other, Ivy felt her resolve harden. No matter the outcome, she had made her choice. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, yet for the first time, she felt a rush of excitement pulse through her veins. This was her life, her heart, and she wouldn't let anyone take it away. But just as she anticipated a breakthrough, the door to the room swung open, revealing a tall figure silhouetted against the dim light. "I couldn't help but overhear," the voice sent a chill down Ivy's spine. It was Bradley, the family attorney with a reputation for ruthlessness, and his arrival felt like the harbinger of darker consequences. What would he bring to this already explosive situation? Ivy's pulse quickened at the sight of Bradley. His presence loomed like a dark cloud over the delicate breakthrough she had just fought for. She could see her mother's shoulders droop, and her father's frown deepen. The attorney was all business, his tailored suit a stark contrast to the raw emotions swirling in the room. "What do you want, Bradley?" Eleanor snapped, her voice sharp with irritation, but Ivy detected underlying fear. "I came to discuss the matter of the estate," Bradley began, looking directly at Ivy. "And, quite frankly, your future, Ivy. You've stirred a pot that could overflow, and I think we should address it before it becomes an even larger issue." Ivy felt Jake's grip tighten on her hand, a physical reminder of unwavering support. "What do you mean?" Ivy shot back, a challenge in her voice. She wasn't going to let fear seep back into the air now. Not after she had gained a flicker of hope. Bradley's gaze held no warmth. "I mean, your actions could jeopardize the terms of the trust set up by your grandfather. If you choose to pursue this relationship, it might be considered a breach of contract. Simply put, you could lose everything." Ivy's breath caught again, her uncertainty crashing into the excitement she felt moments before. She felt her parents tense, and her heart sank. Would they really go that far? She glanced at Jake, whose expression remained steady, but she could sense the shadows gathering behind his confident facade. "Stop trying to manipulate her," Jake interjected, his voice rising. "This isn't about money or contracts. Ivy deserves to make her own choices without fear of losing her inheritance over love." Bradley's lips curled into a tight smile, but his eyes remained cold. "And what would you know about legal matters? The world isn't just about feelings, young man. Reality is much more complicated." "No, you're wrong," Ivy countered, her voice firm. "Love is worth fighting for. If being with Jake means losing everything my family has built, then maybe that's a price I'm willing to pay. I won't live my life dictated by fear or greed." Eleanor interrupted, her voice trembling but resolute. "Ivy, this isn't just about you. Think about our family's legacy. We've worked too hard to let it fall apart over some reckless decision." Tension hung heavy in the air. The room felt smaller, constricted by the weight of unspoken fears. Ivy looked around, taking in her family's worried expressions. She could see their concern mirrored in her uncle's eyes, but they were still unyielding, as if the traditions they clung to were more important than her needs. "Mom, this isn't reckless. This is my life. If you can't understand that, then maybe I have to choose family or freedom," Ivy said, vocalizing the painful truth she had been wrestling with all this time. The room grew silent as if the walls were eavesdropping on her revelation. In that moment, Ivy realized how truly monumental this pause was. It felt as if the air shifted, and she was standing at a crossroads. Bradley cleared his throat and leaned closer, his tone low and serious. "Then let us say you choose him. I suggest you prepare for the fallout. You'd be risking everything, and if you do that, you might just lose your family too." Ivy felt the weight of his words. Could love really come at such a steep price? As the gravity of the moment sank in, she suddenly understood the enormity of the decision she faced. She glanced at Jake, who was watching her with a mixture of hope and understanding. In that fleeting moment, she felt the world shift again, as fresh resolve built within her. "What if I can find a way to keep both?" she thought. Maybe there's a path through this chaos I haven't seen yet. Just then, the lights flickered, casting an erratic glow that highlighted the uncertainty etched on everyone's faces. But how? She wondered, her heart racing not with fear, but with the thrill of possibility. As she looked back at her parents, Bradley's dark prophecy echoed in her mind. Could she really bridge this divide without losing it all? The answer seemed tantalizingly close, yet painfully elusive. And with that, the door to her future hung wide open, teetering on a precipice. What was the first step she could take to reclaim her life and love without turning her back on her family? The tension in the room crackled like static. Ivy felt it swirl around her, making it hard to breathe. She could see her mom's worried eyes darting between her and Bradley. Her father's jaw clenched tighter, and even Jake's grip felt like it could crush her hand. "Okay," Ivy's voice trembled, yet she pushed through, summoning the strength she hadn't realized she possessed. "Let us talk about options. There has to be a way to make this work. We don't have to go straight to the worst possible outcome." Bradley raised an eyebrow, as if amused by the audacity of her words. "You think you can negotiate your way out of this?" He leaned back against the wall, crossing his arms. "These trusts are ironclad, Ivy. No amount of wishful thinking is going to change that." "Maybe you're underestimating me," Ivy shot back, surprising herself with the confidence in her tone. "I'm not some naive girl. I've done my research. The estate allows for adjustments if all parties agree." Eleanor's eyes widened, caught off guard by her daughter's knowledge. "Ivy, that's risky." "I know," Ivy replied quietly, her mind racing. "But what if we approach it differently? If I show that my love for Jake isn't a distraction but a source of strength, maybe they'll see it too. Maybe they'll consider a compromise." Jake nodded. "Exactly. You have the passion and the drive. Don't let these traditions suffocate your spirit. We have to find a way to include your family in our lives rather than pushing them out." Bradley glanced at Jake with irritation, clearly not liking the direction this was heading. "Keep dreaming, kid. Family loyalty does not come easy, especially when money is involved." For the first time, Ivy recognized how deeply ingrained this system was in her family. The fear of losing status loomed large over every discussion they had. Years of dedication to legacy felt like chains, holding them all back. "Listen, Ivy," her father spoke up, his voice quieter now, softer. "You have to understand. Decisions like this could tear us apart. You're willing to risk everything without considering what that means for us." Ivy stood tall, despite feeling the weight of her father's words. "I'll never be happy if I'm not being true to myself. I love you all, but I refuse to let fear dictate my life." A haunted expression crossed her mother's face as Eleanor glanced at her husband, then back at Ivy. "And if it goes wrong? If you lose more than just the estate?" I'd rather fight for what I want than live a life of regret, Ivy replied firmly. The room fell silent, the air heavy with their collective breath. A shift was happening, a flicker of understanding spiraled in the quiet. What if Jake's voice broke the silence, hesitating at first, but gaining steam? What if there's a way to rethink the trust itself? Maybe seek out some legal loopholes? We can gather evidence of how your relationship strengthens your values, your commitment to the family. Ivy felt a surge of hope. You think we could do that? Bradley's face darkened. You're chasing fantasies. This isn't a fairy tale. Maybe not, but I'll be damned if I don't try, Ivy challenged, determination igniting her words. And there it was, a spark. A new path emerging in the murky shadows of tradition and fear. I'll seek advice, Ivy said, her voice a steady rhythm. Someone who can navigate this legal maze. I won't back down without a fight. Jake smiled, pure admiration lighting up his face. That's my girl. As they planned their next move, Ivy felt something shift within her. What if this was the moment she took her stand? But reality loomed, and the risk was vast. Would her efforts be in vain? Could love really bring her family back together? And most importantly, would Ivy find a way to balance her heart with her heritage without losing both? The future lay ahead, bright and uncertain, like the dawn that hints at a new day through the dark night. In that moment of hope and determination, Ivy could only wonder what challenges lay ahead on this tumultuous journey. Could love prevail against the tides of tradition? The fate of her family. Ivy took a deep breath, grounding herself in the present as the tension slowly dissipated. After the whirlwind of emotions, a new resolve settled in her heart. She glanced around the room, noticing the subtle shift in her family's expressions. Maybe they could see it too, the possibility that change was on the horizon. Let us make a list, Jake said, his voice steadier now. We need to outline our goals and gather everything we can. We might even have to confront a few of the family members who oppose us. What do you mean confront? Bradley scoffed. You think Aunt Maureen is going to want to hear about your little romance? That'll be a real joyride. Ivy shot him a look, irritation bubbling at his dismissive tone. It's not about my romance, Bradley. It's about family and legacy. If we can show how our love strengthens the values this family was built on, then maybe we can make a real change. Her father frowned, still uncertain but leaning toward hope. You really believe that? He looked at Ivy, searching her face for any sign of doubt. I do, Ivy asserted, her voice rising with conviction. I need to show that love can weave through these traditions instead of tearing us apart. That it can even enhance our family's values. Eleanor, her mother, finally spoke up, her voice softer yet laced with concern. It's just that many have sacrificed so much for this legacy. I fear what could happen if you push too hard. It could end sadly for all of us. I understand the stakes, Mom, Ivy said, her heart aching at Eleanor's worry. But I can't keep ignoring who I am. I want you to be proud of me for choosing the path of love instead of fear. As they continued their brainstorming session, Ivy felt excitement mingled with anxiety. That afternoon, they laid the groundwork for their fight. But with each plan they made, a shadow of doubt loomed in her mind. Jake took her hand, giving her a reassuring squeeze. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. You and me against the world. His words washed over her, instilling a warmth that felt both grounding and invigorating. Together, she echoed softly. That's what we have. And what we'll need. Days melted into nights as they worked tirelessly, gathering legal resources and researching every possible angle. The more they dug, the more Ivy uncovered the layers of the trust that could be challenged. Pockets of opportunity lay waiting for her just beneath the surface if only she could approach them correctly. With each meeting and phone call, delay crept in like a thief in the night, gnawing at her enthusiasm. A part of her wondered whether they could beat the odds or if the traditions and expectations would consume her dreams before she ever had a chance to soar. Then came the moment Ivy dreaded and anticipated. The day they would reveal their intentions to the family and expose that would strip the facade of silence and bring their battles into the open. She felt the weight of that upcoming confrontation like a storm gathering on the horizon. "I'm terrified," she admitted to Jake one evening as they reviewed their final plan. "Fear is part of the journey," he replied, his gaze steady. "But you've come this far. Remember why you started." Eventually, the day arrived. The family had gathered for a previously planned meeting regarding the estate. As Ivy stood at the end of the long table, her heart raced. "Today is a turning point," she declared, locking eyes with her family members. "We need to talk." But before she could continue, the door swung open, and in walked Aunt Maureen, a scowl etched on her face. "What's this about, Ivy?" Ivy's stomach twisted. What if this was the moment of truth? Would she crumble at the judgment, or would she stand her ground and face the storm ahead? With a deep breath, she prepared to let the words flow, words that could change everything. Would Ivy's plea lead to understanding, or was she about to ignite a conflict they could never take back? Ivy felt the air thicken as all eyes turned to her. Aunt Maureen's expression was hard, a fortress of criticism built over years of tradition. For a moment, an invisible weight pressed down on her chest, making it hard to breathe. "Ivy," Maureen said sharply, "what do you think you can accomplish here? This isn't just about you." "I know it's not," Ivy replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "It's about all of us. About this family and how we move forward together." Gasps rolled quietly around the table, and Ivy felt the heat of indignation rising in her cheeks. She took a breath, gathering her thoughts. "We've been stuck in a cycle of tradition that limits us instead of uniting us. It's time we embrace love and acceptance." Bradley snorted softly. "Love? You think love can change years of legacy? Just like that? Why not? What has our legacy given us other than division?" She shot back, her voice rising defiantly. The energy was changing, and she could feel it in the room, the tension shifting. "If we keep up this charade, we will lose each other for good." Aunt Maureen's scowl deepened, her arms crossed tightly. "And what of your little arrangement?" Ivy could feel Jake's presence next to her, his support anchoring her. "This isn't just about us," she continued, focusing on the rest of her family. "This is about redefining what our family means. Love isn't a burden, it's a bridge. We can set new foundations, but only if we talk about it." "With the likes of him?" Maureen shot back, motioning toward Jake. "A man outside our world you want us to believe he can fit into our vision?" "That's exactly what I'm asking," Ivy countered vehemently. "Everyone deserves a chance. Not based on family names or legacies, but on who they are as individuals." A murmuring broke out among the family members seated around the table. Somewhere in the crowd, Ivy saw her mother's eyes fill with tears, a glimmer of hope reflecting back at her. Eleanor's expression was no longer purely one of concern, and for the first time, Ivy recognized the possibility that her mother might align her support behind Ivy's intentions. Maureen huffed, her demeanor wavering slightly. "You think because you're willing to fight for what you want, that we should all just follow you into chaos?" "It's not chaos," Ivy insisted, feeling her confidence ignite. "It's the start of something incredible. But we must be willing to embrace it together. If we keep pushing each other away, we'll just continue to destroy what makes us family. Traditions can evolve, and we can choose how that looks." The silence hung heavily, questioning, contemplating. Ivy's heart thudded painfully in her chest while she held her breath, waiting for the response from a family that felt both like home and alien ground. Jake squeezed her hand tightly, bolstering her resolve. Slowly, her father raised a hand, breaking the silence. "Ivy, I'm not sure I fully agree, but maybe we owe it to ourselves to reconsider what we hold so tightly." A flicker of hope sparked within her. "We can have open discussions. Let us engage with one another instead of building walls." "Engage? With that man here?" Maureen spat, but Ivy could see the hesitation. Maybe the cracks were forming. Suddenly, Bradley leaned in. Are we really going to discuss love and legacy while we're looking at our future being torn apart? Are we even considering what this could mean for our family's reputation? Ivy felt her heartbeat quickening. Reputation? Or do you mean tradition? We can change how we define family, and perhaps through that, we will find our truth. We can be better together. As the table erupted into voices, some supportive and others resistant, Ivy stood firm, watching her family grapple with a decision that felt like destiny. Yet just as Ivy thought she might find her footing, Maureen stood abruptly, her demeanor darkening again. Well, if you want chaos, Ivy, then you shall have it. But remember, chaos always comes at a price. With those words, Maureen stormed out, leaving the room spun into a web of uncertainty. Ivy's throat tightened. What had she unleashed? Would this only deepen the divides? Or could change truly be on the horizon? Together, they were faced with a choice as chaotic as it was transformative. Would they rally behind her vision, or would this moment mark the beginning of an unbearable family fracture? Ivy stared at the empty doorway where Aunt Maureen had just disappeared, the air thick with a mix of frustration and hope. The murmurs at the table swirled around her like a storm, a cacophony of doubt and dissent clashing with her vision for unity. She could feel Jake's hand squeezing hers reassuringly, grounding her amidst the turmoil. Why don't we take a moment? Her mother Eleanor suggested, her voice calming compared to the chaos surrounding them. Let us not rush to decisions. This is a lot to unpack. She looked around the table, seeking agreement from the family. Ivy glanced at her father, whose brow furrowed in deep thought. I can't pretend it's not overwhelming, he admitted, voice quieter now. You're asking for a lot of change, Ivy. This isn't just personal, it's about everything we've built. And everything we've lost, Ivy replied, her heart racing. The family we used to be, full of laughter. We can find a way to include everyone, even Jake. Bradley leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. Is that really what you think? This new family can work? How do you expect it to fit together when it's already so fractured? For once, let us not talk about fitting together like jigsaw pieces, Ivy urged. Let us talk about people. About feelings. Our family has lost sight of that. Jake interjected, change doesn't happen overnight. I know that. But essentially, love is what makes a family. Consider that. I agree with Jake, Eleanor spoke up, her eyes brightening with urgency. This is about understanding each other as perspectives. Or falling apart, Bradley countered, the skepticism still evident in his tone. Ivy felt her worry surge, and she took a deep breath, focusing on the breadbasket sitting in front of her as a distraction. It was warm and inviting, a small comfort amidst the heavy conversations. What if we all shared our stories? Ivy suggested. Really listen to why we feel the way we do. Maybe that way, we can bridge these gaps. I suppose it's worth a try, her father said slowly, rubbing the back of his neck. Just know that some people are going to struggle with this. Struggle or not, it's crucial to understand each other, she emphasized, looking at everyone in the room. This isn't just about me anymore. It's about us fighting to break free from the burdens of the past. The silence that followed felt pregnant with possibilities. Ella clasped her hands together, her eyes wide, as if already weighing the potential for healing. Fine, Bradley relented, leaning in closer. If we're rehashing our dirt, I get a say too. We all do, Ivy assured him, grateful for any sign of willingness to listen. As each family member began sharing their feelings, some hesitant, others more open, and unexpected warmth started to fill the room. Ivy tried to pay attention, holding on to the flickering hope that they could forge an understanding that transcended their differences. Moments of laughter mixed with tears emerged, reflecting vulnerability she hadn't anticipated. Each story was a piece of the puzzle, revealing hidden fears, dreams, and regrets. Above it all, Ivy sensed the tension begin to dissipate as walls crumbled and hearts softened. And then, just as Ivy felt a glimmer of triumph, a loud crash interrupted the fragile atmosphere. They all turned toward the source, only to find Maureen standing at the threshold again, eyes blazing with anger, holding a family heirloom, a vase passed down through generations now shattered between her hands. This is what you call family? She spat, a look of disappointment etched deeply on her face. You act like this is some simple fix, but you're only digging your own graves. Ivy's heart sank as the realization hit. Would they ever find common ground, or would Maureen's chaos prove stronger than her own commitment to change? Uncertainty loomed again, but this time, Ivy knew that they had turned a corner. The journey was just beginning, whatever the storm ahead might bring. What would they do next? Would they fight for one another, or would their inherited burdens pull them apart? Ivy felt the icy grip of dread clutch at her heart as Maureen stood there, rage emanating from her like a storm cloud ready to unleash its fury. The tension exploded, ricocheting off the walls. She glanced at her family, each face a mixture of shock and confusion, unable to process the fracture laid bare before them. Maureen, stop. Eleanor's voice was sharp, but softer than before, layered with desperation. What are you doing? Holding the shards of the vase, Maureen's lips quivered with rage. This is a sign of everything we're throwing away. You think love will magically solve our problems? Look at what we're willing to break. We can rebuild, Maureen, Ivy interjected, her voice steady despite the tempest unfolding. Just like that vase. It doesn't have to mean everything's lost. We can find a new way forward. But we need to start with understanding instead of tearing each other apart. But you're ignoring what built us. Maureen spat, her eyes flashing. You cling to this fantasy while the rest of us are left picking up the pieces. Maybe these pieces, Ivy motioned toward the scattered fragments underfoot, can teach us something about how we treat each other. If we can embrace each other, despite our differences, we can forge a new family legacy. One that doesn't crush love under the weight of expectation. Eleanor stepped forward, looking more vulnerable than Ivy had ever seen her. Maureen, this isn't easy for any of us. I know tradition matters to you, but love is equally important. Ivy deserves a chance to define her life as she sees fit. The collective exhale in the room felt like a fragile step forward. Yes. Ivy added, feeling emboldened. If we don't allow love to exist within our boundaries, what are we really fighting for? Tradition without connection is empty, it's just an echo of something lost. As Maureen stood frozen, a flicker of uncertainty broke through her hardened exterior. The silence hung heavy until her voice broke through with chilling resolve. And what if this new path divides us further? When it all falls apart, who will pick up the pieces again? We can't undo years of expectations just because you have a whim. A heavy pause followed, and Ivy felt the desperation rise again. But what if it brings us closer? Ivy breathed, tears prickling her eyes. I want to lose faith in what I feel, what all of us can feel. Tension crackled again, and suddenly, her father spoke. The room turned, every ear quickly attuned to his words. Maybe, just maybe, we can meet in the middle. Ivy, if you want this life with Jake, let us talk about it. How can we incorporate what you found? We need to find value in your happiness, and I won't deny that you have a point. Maureen's expression shifted, confusion battling anger. Henry, you can't be serious. We'll let the foundation crumble? Or we can redefine it, he replied. Let us try. Let us really talk together. He gestured toward the fragmented vase scattered across the floor. Our family, we've held on too tightly to what defined us. What if letting go of some of that opens doors to something better? Ivy's heart swelled with hope as she caught her mother's eye, silently urging her to see the potential in this moment. Eleanor took a step forward. For too long, we've lived in fear of what might happen. It's time we chose to embrace the love we have and allow our family to evolve. Maureen stood in the doorway, battling a storm of her own, and listening to the uncertainty in her heart. A flicker of doubt passed over her face as she realized the strength in Ivy's words. But what if it all unravels? She whispered. What if we lose everything? We won't lose everything, Ivy replied, her heart pounding with resolve. We'll gain new insights, new strength. It's time we stop letting fear from the past dictate our future. The weight of their shared experiences hung in the air, ripe with possibility and the challenge of honesty. With moments that would change everything, they could rise or fall together. Fine, Maureen finally muttered, her voice low yet firm, let us talk. And if it means we can rebuild, I accept, but only if we can honestly address the pain of tradition. And at that moment, the tide began to truly shift. Hope rippled through Ivy as her family, bruised yet willing, started stepping toward a new beginning. Emotions settled into an understanding she hadn't dared to dream about just a short while ago. This wasn't the end. This was the start of their fight, their dedication to create a family where love wasn't buried under tradition but woven deep into the very fabric of who they were. As they gathered their resolve to begin again, Ivy felt a radiant smile break free across her face. Together, she said softly, eyes glistening. That's how we'll do it. In the years to come, those words would echo a promise made and a family reconstructed not just from pieces, but forged from the strength of love overcoming fear, united in a way they never thought possible. And somewhere, a vase might just become a beautiful crane. Now that the story has concluded, it's the perfect time for you to take action. You need to subscribe now so you won't miss exclusive stories about transformations just like this one. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment below your reactions and feelings about Ivy's amazing journey. And don't wait not even one more second. Share this story with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful transformation. Your support truly makes a difference in bringing more inspiring stories to life.